Hello, my name is Jim Bellacera, and I want to welcome you to Within the Millionaire Mind. The lesson I'm going to talk about is uncovered buried dreams. Have you buried your dreams? Did you once have dreams of having a successful career? Or raising a family? Or having children that grow up to make wise decisions? Did you have a dream of being a highly recognized artist or speaker, author, successful business person? Did you once have a dream of taking your talents and bless others with them? Perhaps maybe you play the guitar, clarinet, flute, the violin, drums, you name it. Imagine the feeling of being able to stand up or on a stage and be able to bless people in the audience because you can play music that warms their heart. Did you have a dream of becoming a professional athlete, maybe golfing on the PGA Tour, an Olympic snowboarder, perhaps maybe playing the NBA as a basketball player? Did you have a dream of taking a romantic adventure, traveling around the world with your significant other? If you can think it, it can be achieved. Every automobile, every building, every technology, every boat, every plane came from someone with an idea or a dream. Some dreams lay dormant for years. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Henry Ford, the man behind the automobile manufacturing company called Ford, is the man who said that. It's never too early and it's never too late. It's up to you. If you can think it, it can be built. You see this bridge, it's called the Helix Bridge in Singapore. Over in Asia, they've got some amazing buildings, which we'll talk about in a minute. But somebody had to think about building a bridge. But then they went beyond building a bridge. They decided to build an architectural structure that was a beautiful piece of work. But because somebody had an idea, a dream, then they had to find people to help them facilitate that dream, the architect. And then the architect had to find somebody who could engineer it. And then once they had the architectural and the engineering structure done, then they had to find the people that could build it. Well, in Singapore, I believe this is the biggest casino in the world with the biggest deck or bridge with a swimming pool and plants and grass and restaurants. It's the most amazing building in, I believe, all of Asia for a casino. It's called the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. Now, I've been to Singapore multiple times. I had never had a chance to see this after it was built. But the point I want to make is somebody had a vision. They had a dream. And they decided that this is what they want to build, and then they had to find somebody who could design it, the architect. And then once the architect was able to design it, then the engineer could come along and facilitate all the structural things that needed to be done. And then once that was finished, then they had to hire the people to build the buildings and the roofs and pour the foundations and cement and the roads and everything that you see. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because some people look at a building and they go, that's amazing, that's interesting, or that's beautiful, or that someday I'd like to go see that place. And they don't realize the cause and effect, the impact of somebody having a dream and how it facilitates somebody else's dream. Now I want you to think about this, whether Singapore would be even a vision of yours or not, it doesn't matter, but there are places around the world I'm sure that you would like to go visit because there's beauty everywhere. But in order to even have a desire to go there, you have to know it's there. Somebody had to have a vision and a dream and build that facility that says, oh my goodness, I think I need to go there. What a great place that would be, honey, to go visit for our vacation. And then think about all the different people that were involved in the process of building that dream. See, when you see a building, you don't think of how many employees built it. You think of maybe perhaps how many employees manage it, maintain it, keep it up to par so that people come and they can enjoy the benefits of it. But they don't think about the thousands and thousands of people around the world that actually had something to do with building that. You see, the furniture wasn't built in Singapore. The windows were probably not even made in Singapore. I know the metal didn't come from Singapore. My point is that pieces and parts came from all over the world, and somebody else's dream to have a metal manufacturing company or a window company or a furniture company or a roofing company, somebody who had a dream for a different company was able to have that dream continue to flourish because somebody had a bigger dream to have the roof done and have the furniture created and have the windows manufactured and so on and so forth. If you can think it, it can be built. I know you're looking at this mega yacht here with a helicopter landing on it, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm not really sure there's something I want. Or some people actually say, oh my goodness, I would never want to have something like that. I mean, I couldn't even afford it. That's not the point. The point is, if somebody didn't have a dream of having a mega yacht, perhaps maybe you would have never thought about wanting to have a boat. Or perhaps maybe because somebody had this vision of this mega yacht, they don't realize how many people were employed to build it. You see, you think that it was just manufactured in this one location somewhere in the world where all these employees came together to assemble this building. Well, it is a building. But what people don't realize is everything that was built on that yacht didn't all come from that one location. There are pieces, there are furniture, there are lights, there are glasses and tables and tops and chairs and so on and so forth that came from all over the world. Somebody else's dream was a part of this bigger dream. Because somebody had a dream of having a wicker chair company. Somebody had a dream of having a chair company, a bar stool company. Somebody had a dream of, you see the alcohol on the back wall? Those different alcohol companies were dreams of somebody else's to have an alcohol company. And because somebody had those dreams, the alcohol was available. I'm not saying it's a good idea to have alcohol. I'm just trying to make a point. Because you can see the whole back wall is like a bar, and going into a restaurant or going into a bar, and you can see all the alcohol they have on the back wall. Nobody thinks about all the things that it took to create that bar. Not just the wood, not just the metal, not just the labor involved, but the lighting, the time. It all had to come together. Somebody had to design it and engineer it, and somebody had to bring it there, on trucks. And when you really think about how many different things had to take place for something to be delivered, something to be installed, something to be built, and it doesn't all come from one place. Some of you are probably thinking, well, you're going deep on this stream, aren't you, Jim? I am. Because I realized something when I was doing this putting this lesson together. It dawned on me. Usually we only look at something for our personal needs, right? We look at something, maybe a piece of art, or furniture, or a house, or we look at something that's like, I think I'd like to live there, or I like that car. That car would be really nice to have. We don't think of all the other things that came into play to make that happen. We don't have an inkling of a clue of what it takes, because a man or a woman had a dream to have a yacht built, and then somebody had to design it, right? And then somebody had to pick the furniture for it or manufacture the furniture for it. And find the fabric and the carpet and the statues and the paintings that are on the walls and the wood that somebody has to select the wood and find the wood somewhere in the world so they can, ship it in and have it cut to fit inside the hull. I mean, the lamps, the light, just you name it. Because someone has a dream, they enable other people to have a dream. Or just to carry on with their life, to be able to make enough money so they can pay their car payment, pay their house payment, pay the insurance. When the car breaks, they can repair the car. When they need to replace the tires, they have the money to replace the tires. See, life is so much bigger than we realize. Now, this is inside a yacht, and this is a table for 20 people. Now, some people don't even have 20 friends in their whole life. But, obviously, the more money you have, the more people you bring into your life, and the more people you're able to serve. And in this case, it's like, that's quite a big table, I mean, who would want to have a table that big? Well, if you have the space and you can afford to do it, why not? Why not? But when you look around that room and you look at the granite countertop and you look at the chairs and the leather on the chairs and you look at the lighting and you look at the wood on the walls and the paintings and the wood on the floor, and the more you look, the more you begin to realize there's more details than you realize. Somebody had to have a vision for just that room. That room was a dream. And then once that dream was designed, then somebody had to hire people to facilitate putting it together. And every time they hired somebody, they were able to create jobs and help other people facilitate their dreams because their dreams were tied to somebody else's dream. Oh, look at this bedroom. It's a master bedroom. Look at all the windows, man. Could you imagine having a room like that where, 180 degrees of nothing but the ocean and islands and whatever you can see out of your bedroom, and having a moonroof in your bedroom? How cool is that, right? And the LCD lighting going all the way around, and the wood on the walls, and that cabinet, I'm sure there's a television in there, and I'm sure it pops up and allows you to watch television at nighttime in your room. And I mean, somebody else's dream may not be your dream, but somebody else's dream facilitated somebody else's dream. And when I showed you the picture of that mega yacht, I'm sure a lot of people look at those mega yachts and think to themselves, I'll never have one, so why get excited about it, right? But maybe I can have something to do with one of those yachts that could help me facilitate my dream. And I don't know how that fits because everybody, it depends on, if they bought something from a place where you work. I don't know. Or if something that you do helps something that some other company manufactures. You don't know. Or maybe you work in a place in retail where you sell things that other people manufacture. And my point is, somebody else's dream is connected to your dream or your existence, no matter how you slice it, no matter how you dice it. We are all connected one way, shape, or form. If you think it can be built. Somebody had to have an idea of having a water slide, right, on a mega yacht. And I remember this the first time I saw this when I was in Florida, because I live in Florida now, and I saw somebody with a jetpack on, and they were literally flying over the water, as you can see. It was like, oh my gosh. I said to Donna, Donna, I want to stop. I want to stay here for a little bit. I want to watch this person. They were just having so much fun. So somebody had a dream of having a jetpack on their back so that they can fly on top of the water. And because they had the dream of making that piece of equipment, now other people have a dream of wanting to do it. I want to do it. I don't want to own it, but I want to do it. I want to have fun. Well, when you have we're still on the yacht, but when you have a yacht, you've got space, and you have space in there for toys. And what's really amazing is, you pull the toys out and the people on the yacht get to play on the toys. Oh, now, I know this is just ridiculous, but imagine having the ability to have a helicopter so that when you're out to sea a little bit, but you don't really want to bring the boat back because it takes too much time. And, by the time you bring the boat all the way back and then you dock it, and, you lose a lot of time in the evening, but you just want to go to dinner in a regular restaurant. So you take the helicopter. I mean, I know it's like a crazy idea, but people do that. And because you're able to take the helicopter, you're able to go to somebody else's dream who owns the restaurant and have a meal. Everything is connected to everybody's dream. Or maybe you just want to go, what do they call it? Motor surfing. Just have the ability to have fun. I've been fortunate. I've been able to go on some mega yachts, actually a handful of them. And I've actually found out what it's like to have several people that all they do is take care of whatever you want. You want to have oatmeal cookies? Sure, Mr. Bellacera. What time tonight would you like to have them? Oh, how about after dinner at 7 o'clock? Great, Mr. Bellacera. And after that, can we have some popcorn? Sure, Mr. Bellacera. I mean, it's just insane to think of that kind of lifestyle, but there are people that have it. Now, because they have that lifestyle, they were able to employ other people who enjoy doing what they do. Maybe their dream is not to own the yacht, but maybe their dream is to be able to serve on the yacht and live that life for a period of time. Or maybe you just want to hang out on the back deck, on the yacht, in the spa, or on the lounge, eat some fruit, get some rays. If you can think it, then it can be built. Now, every boat has to move, and without an engine, this is the engine room. Can you imagine? Somebody had to come up with an idea for engines that would be able to move that boat, whether it's at 3 knots or 15 knots or 20 knots or 23 knots. It doesn't matter. But somebody had to figure that out. And think of all the different jobs that came out of a dream for an engine to move a yacht. There's computer components and electrical. There's actual engines and metal parts and valves and exhausts and seals and bolts, and you just name it. There's railing inside there. There's lighting and just All kinds of things had to happen in there because somebody had a dream for a boat. And the galley. If you don't know what a galley is a kitchen. And some of you love to cook, but could you imagine the amount of work and equipment that's in there for bacon and eggs, oatmeal? Maybe we'll have a chicken dinner. This is crazy. Maybe pop on the helicopter to go back to land so we can get some more food so that we can continue out to sea. I don't know what your dream is, but I don't want you to look at somebody else's dream and say, oh, I would never want that. We can look at other people's dreams and realize that their dreams are connected to our dreams. Because if it wasn't for them having a big dream, then other people wouldn't build their dream. There's a book that was done by Robert Schuller. Robert Schuller is a preacher who used to preach on top of a drive-in theater. If you're not familiar with a drive-in theater, that's back in the day. Drive-in theaters were extremely popular. There's still some around the country, but there's a big old, screen, huge, massive screen, and you drive your car up and you park next to a pole, and the pole has a speaker on it, and you bring the speaker inside the car and roll the windows up because if it's cold at night, you don't want to be cold, and you're able to watch the movie and listen to it inside your car. Extremely popular when I was growing up, and he used to, on Sunday mornings, he would have people come to the drive-in theater. He would stand on the roof and he would preach to the audience, which was people sitting in their cars. Well, eventually his dream was to actually buy the property, because it's in Orange County. If you're familiar with Orange County, it's a very expensive area. It's where Disneyland is and so forth, and John Wayne Airport and so on and so forth. So anyway, his dream was to buy the property and build his church. Well, he bought the property, and so then once he was able to do that, then the next thing was he wanted to build a building, and he decided he wanted to build a building called the Crystal Cathedral, which meant he had to hire an architect, and then he had to hire an engineer so that they knew what it was going to look like, and then they knew what it was going to take to build it, because the engineer would be able to design all the structural pieces and so forth, and then they would have to raise the money to build the building. And the whole story is just amazing. So he goes on to build the building, and I've seen the building actually open. A lot of people don't know this, because if you haven't gone to the Crystal Cathedral on certain days, you don't see the building open. But the building opens. All the glass walls all separate. It is the most beautiful thing to see this building and see how the building will open up. Now, some people are probably thinking, well, what a waste to spend that money on a building that opens up. Are you kidding? But think of all the jobs that were created, all the people that were blessed because of a man with a dream. But where I'm going with this, he wrote in his book, Peak to Peak, he wanted to explain, how, our minds are like a rubber band. When you stretch it, it never goes back to its original form. Well, the peak to peak principle is when you have a dream and you chase after that dream, you chase after something that you believe you can achieve. Once you achieve it, now you can peek over the next horizon and have another dream that you can go after. Because life is a peak to peak principle. Because most of us can't imagine ourselves having a yacht of any magnitude, because the amount of money it would take to have it, and even or space or anything like that. But somebody who can imagine it can stretch your imagination. This is, by the way, a wheelhouse of a yacht. And somebody had to design it. Somebody had to bring all the technology together and make sure it all fit. And it was all, designed to help move the boat in the direction that they wanted to go, and realize the depth of the water and the safety issues and all that kind of stuff. This is just amazing. Excuse me. If you can think it, then it can be built. A Lamborghini. I remember when I never even heard of a Lamborghini, and somebody was talking about it all the time, and so I finally got to look and see what a Lamborghini was, because I really wasn't on the internet back then, because I don't think anybody was, or at least the majority of the population wasn't. When I saw a Lamborghini, I go, oh my gosh, that is one nice car. And then I found out how much it costs. Oh my goodness. I don't think I could afford something like that. So why would I think in terms of a Lamborghini? Well, it gets even more ridiculous, because the Lamborghini that you're looking at, it's gold plated. Now, why would anybody gold plate a car? Why not? I mean, if it's your dream and you can afford it, why not? Because somebody's dream, again, it facilitates somebody else's dream. Because if they can make money gold plating it, then it helps them get where they want to go with what they want to do with their life, right? And when you think about it, when Mr. Lamborghini designed the car, he had to design an engine that would be able to fit in that car. And you think of all the different things that had to be manufactured by all the different people. How many dreams did he help facilitate? Maybe the people that manufactured the different parts don't have a dream of owning a sports car, but they have a dream of owning a house, or a dream of owning a car that gets them from point A to point B, or they have a dream of being able to retire with some sort of financial dignity, and they need to set themselves up, and they need to take the money that they're making and invest in something else that's going to help them one day where they can actually not have to work for the rest of their life. Oh, but could you imagine somebody driving around in a pink car? Yeah. There's people who love driving around in pink cars. Well, if the sports car is what they want, but they don't like the color, they don't want gold and they don't want yellow and they don't want red, why not paint it pink? Because you can. And look at the interior. I mean, when I look at a car, I look at everything. I want to see the engine because it just excites me. I don't really care how it works. It just looks cool, you know? I just know that it goes fast. When I look at the exterior of a car, does it look like it's going fast sitting still? That's important to me. When I look inside the car, how's it shaped? What does it look like? What's the color of the leather? What's the dash look like? What do the buttons look like? How do they work? What do they do? I mean, somebody had to think of all this. Somebody had to have a vision and a dream, and then somebody had to design it, and then somebody had to manufacture it. And somebody created jobs because they had a dream. Look at this mansion. Oh, my goodness. Now, who would want a house this big? I mean, really. Do you know how long it would take to walk from one end to the other? Well, somebody did. Somebody was excited about walking a long distance from one end to the other end. But at the same time, how many people did one person affect when they designed this house? You have an architect, you have an engineer, and then you have all the different people involved in building it. You have the people that laid the tile and put in the balusters and the stairs and the swimming pool and the landscaping and the roofed it. And they did all these different, the palm trees. They did all this work. Somebody's dream facilitated somebody else's dream. I hope you understand what I'm saying here in this presentation. So if you can think it, then it can be built. So you walk inside of another mansion and there's a dual stairway going up. I remember when I was a little kid watching Dallas on TV, and they had the dual staircase. And I used to just think to myself, wow, that's awesome. Now, I never for a minute ever thought of myself having a dual staircase in my own house, but I thought how cool it was, right? And years later, when I finally got to that place in my life financially where I could actually build a house of that magnitude, I decided I wanted a house with dual staircases. Now, this room looks a little bit bigger than mine, but I will tell you, when you look at this person's house and you look at their dream and you look at the floor and the intricacy in the tile, the granite, and then you look at the stairs and the wrought iron and the carpet going up and the wainscoting on the walls and the chandelier and the lights in the ceiling and the furniture all around it and the plants and the statues, somebody's dream facilitated somebody else's dream. Remember, you can't have a dream come true if you don't have a dream, right? And the reason, I'm going to continue to reiterate the reason for what I'm sharing with you. I'm not going to assume that you're looking at this thinking to yourself, yeah, I want a mansion, or I want a mega yacht, or I want a helicopter, or I want, that's not the point. The point is that we're all connected. One person's dream may not be another person's dream, but had it not been for that dream, we might not have been stretched enough to realize our own dreams. Look at this kitchen. Isn't that amazing? I think about my wife, Donna, when I look at a kitchen like this. For me personally, it's just cool. I used to be a cabinet maker. I used to love to make cabinets, and this is actually beautiful. It's gorgeous. I love the granite countertops, and I love the stainless steel appliances, and so on and so forth. I love the idea of having a commercial stove, but if you want me to cook, forget it. It's never going to happen. I'd rather go out to dinner than do that. I'd rather clean the dishes than actually cook. I mean, it's just not something I want to do. But my wife, Donna, oh my goodness. She thinks about food when she wakes up. She was thinking about, what can we have for dinner tonight? Or what should I prepare for this? It's just who she is. It's her family. They all love to cook. They talk about their meals. They talk about what they're preparing for the next day or what they're going to have for the holidays and so on and so forth. It's just part of their life. Imagine being able to have a kitchen of your dreams where you can go in there and not only have the space to cook, but also have the ability to have your friends in the kitchen while you're cooking. So you're not only cooking, but you're also entertaining. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be this big, but the point is somebody's dream helped somebody else's dream come true. Somebody got to manufacture the cabinet. Somebody got to manufacture the refrigerator and the stove and the microwave and the ovens and the chairs somebody had to find the wood and the fabric and the lighting and just everything that you see there. And then what you don't see in the walls, from the ductwork to the electrical to the gas. Somebody had to do all that. The archways and the doors and the moldings. Somebody else's dreams all came together in one place because of one person's dream. If you can think it, it can be built. Wow, look at the size of this office. I don't know that I would want an office that big, right? Why not? It's just a matter of how big you can think. But if you can't think that big, it's okay because it has nothing to do with what you want. As long as you can see yourself further than where you are. That's what the purpose of a dream is. But I want you to look at this. Look at the coffered ceiling and the fan and the furniture and the desk and the bookcase and the fireplace and the paintings and the lamp and the what do you call it, the stuff on the windows. The blinds, thank you. And you begin to look at everything in that room and how many people's companies, which were a dream, facilitated the single dream of that office and this living room. I mean, there's too many things to talk about, from the carpets and the furniture and the fireplace and the paintings and, oh my gosh, the flowers and the windows and so on and so forth. But someone would come in there and go, this room's too big and the ceilings are too high. And, think of how much energy you're wasting in a space where nobody can be because the heat rises, correct? Well, who cares? The people, if they can afford this room, they can afford to pay for the energy. But what we need to really look at is, thank goodness for people like that, because while their dream is being facilitated in the furniture and the lamps and the lights and the paintings and the fireplace and the marble and the carpets and so on and so forth, they're helping somebody else's dream come to fruition. Cause and effect. Oh, and look at the sunroom. Imagine having a sunroom where you can just relax and read a book and not have a worry in the world. Just enjoy the day and the sun and the beauty that's outside. And then get ready for the evening to go out to dinner or celebrate with your family or whatever it is that you want. I'm thinking, oh, well, I don't know that I would want a sunroom that's that big. It's just, kind of a waste of space. It's all relative to the way you think. But at the same time, because this person had a dream of having a sunroom like this, you can see the marble on the walls and the paintings and the furniture and the fabric and the chairs and the plants and you name it in that room. Somebody else's vision, somebody else's dream was facilitated because of their dream. That's the beauty of what I want to share with you. I want you to take the time and I want you to put together your dream board. Now, back in the day for me, we had a dream card. I don't know if we actually talked in terms of a dream board or not. I just remember somebody mentioned something about putting together a 3x5 dream card. And so I went ahead and I grabbed magazines with all kinds of different things in it, that would motivate me. And this is a true story. I was in the darkest time of my life. I had lost my home that I actually paid cash for. The way I paid cash for that house, just so you know, was through construction. I own my own construction business. I work night and day, 7 days a week, put all the money back into building a house with my own money. And I own my car, cash outright. And unfortunately, I was far enough ahead where I was able to put some money into something else. and something else was a spa manufacturing business, and that company went under. When that went under, I lost my home, I lost my cars, plural, and I had to move into a rental that was a piece of junk, and I barely had enough money to pay my bills on a monthly basis. And I remember this, my engine blew up. I was on the way back from San Francisco to Sacramento when my engine blew up. And I used to go to bed every night with headphones on, listening to stories about other people who went through their trials and tribulations and came out on top. And I used to think, gosh, if they can do it, I can do it. And I believed it. I believed if they could do it, I could do it. In my darkest hours. And so one night, in the middle of the night, somewhere between 12 and 1 o'clock, I got up and I started cutting out all the little images that I knew I was going to do it one day, but I kept putting it off. I had the magazines already. And so I grabbed I looked for some glue, and I found some fingernail glue. And I started gluing little pieces, little cutouts from the magazines, from the house to the cars to the travel vacations to the money to what I believed I wanted to achieve with my life. And I remember when I was finished with the one side, I was going to do the back side, and I went to pull the card up, and it was glued to my desk. Apparently the glue from the nail glue seeped through the paper and glued it to the desk. So I went out into the garage, got a scraper, and I scraped it loose from the desk, and of course I ruined the desk. And then I turned it over, and I went on with what I was doing, and I put on some more pictures on the card. Well, I used to keep that card with me everywhere I went. It was in my day planner, which was, back then we didn't use smartphones, but I always had it with me so I could see it no matter when or where I was. And then years later, I found it. I kind of stumbled on it when I was moving from one place to the next, and I was looking at the card, and I turned it over, and everything that I had put on the card from an image had come to pass, from the type of house to the cars to the money to the travel to so forth. And it was really amazing how powerful a dream board can be. I share this with you not because I did it. I share this with you because you need to do it. You need to empower yourself. You need to have a visual aid that helps you remember why you're doing what you're doing. If you want to have a family, put your family on there. If you want to make money, put money on there. If you want to be able to have a bigger house, put the house on there that you want. You need to do this. You need to get in your car and go dream build. You need to, if you want an RV, go get inside an RV and look at the colors and the themes and the granite and the designs and the engines, and you have to see it, touch it, feel it, just smell it. You want a nice sports car? What kind of a car do you want? What color do you want? You need to go to a car dealership that has the kind of cars that you want to own one day and sit in those things and get yourself behind the steering wheel. You need to do this, because when you do that, it becomes more realistic to you. If you don't do it, then you don't have to believe it. And that's just the way it is. If you want a jet, go where the planes are, If you got an opportunity to go inside a jet, go inside a jet. You need to find out what it's like to experience what other people can afford. If it's not your dream to do that, and you want to take all of the money that you make and put it towards charities and causes that is giving back, fantastic. But you know what? You need to be serious about that. You need to be writing down what you want to accomplish. What do you want to do with that money? Who do you want to help? How are you planning on helping them? Don't just talk about it, and don't just poo-poo people that have money. Be realistic and put something down, because nothing becomes real until you put it down. And just so you know, perception is reality. If someone believes that one day they can be wealthy and they can have a nice house and be able to travel around the world and be able to afford to fly first class versus coach, you know what? They're going to do it. You know why? Because they believe they can. And think about Starbucks. Now, I actually read the book about Starbucks back in a few years back. And I remember at that point, he had already had 1,000 stores already. His goal was to have 5,000 stores. Of course, today it's just got to be ridiculous how many homes they have. But when you know the whole story about Howard Schultz and how he made the decision to get tied in with the roasting company that actually fueled his dream to eventually one day build what's now known as Starbucks. He worked for Macy's. He was a buyer for certain things that Macy's sold. And one of the things that he was a purchasing agent for was grinders, coffee grinders. And he learned that the number one coffee company that purchased grinders was out of California. And he wanted to know how that they can sell more grinders out of one store than all of Macy's combined together. He couldn't believe it. So he actually picked up the telephone, he called the owner of the company, and through the conversation, he decided to fly out to California and learn more about the story. Now, I believe it was San Francisco. And he flew out and learned that really what it was all about was they were a roasting company and people needed to grind their own coffee, and they sold grinders with the beans. It was really that simple. But he was enamored by the whole thing, and he couldn't stop thinking about it, and he saw the success story in this. He realized that they had more stores, they could sell more, and so on and so forth, and make a lot more money. So he called them up, and the owner was not really excited about him, to be quite frank. But he pushed his way into the company, and he told the owner of the company, he says, look, I'm willing to give up my job, move my family out to California. I believe it was California, because I know Starbucks actually starts in Seattle, but I believe the story starts in California. And so anyways, he convinces the owner of the company to give him a job, literally give him a job. He says, I will sweep the floor. I will do whatever you want to do because I want to learn the trade. And he was making, I believe it was $75,000 a year. He said, I'll come to work for you for $25,000 a year. Now that's crazy. And he had a family, okay? So he moves out. He starts to learn the ropes. I'm not sure exactly how the whole thing ends up in Seattle. I can't remember that part of the story. But the owner of the company, he did have a roasting company, but his dream was not roasting coffee. His dream was actually a microbrewery. He wanted to have a microbrewery. And Howard wanted to do the coffee business. And so one of the things that Howard did was he would fly to Europe and he would buy the coffee beans and they would ship the coffee back to the beans back to the United States, and then they would be roasted in the roasting plant and so on and so forth. In one of his trips, something dawned on him, and he realized that people that were having coffee, and if you've been to Europe, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They just hang out and they drink coffee and talk and talk about life, and it's just a place to stop and smell the roses, so to speak, or in this case, smell the roasting coffee. And he said, he thought to himself, we need to do this. We need to build a facility that allows people to buy coffee by the cup, just like they do in Europe. And so, not that this was a new concept overall, but in Europe, that's so normal. Well, he kept telling the owner of the company, I really would like to do this. I really like to do this. So the owner finally gave him a little bit and said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 300 square feet and we'll give it a go. But I'm not going to put any more money into it than that. And you're welcome to do it. So he went ahead and opened up their Coffee by the Cup location. It's in, I believe it's called the Fish Market in Seattle, Washington. The store is still there. The original store is still there. And it was so successful the first day that he realized where they're blowing it, they don't have enough space because they sold over 100 cups of coffee that first day. And the challenge was there wasn't enough room in there for more people. So they needed to figure out a way that they can sell more coffee, and it was going to have to be where they can sell coffee by the cup that you can take out of there. But the owner of the company didn't want to have nothing to do with it. Long story short, he said the owner and him obviously must have had a good relationship, but he told him he didn't want to have anything to do with it. So Howard went on a mission to raise the money to start his first franchise, and he talked to nearly 300 people. I believe it was definitely over 280 something people. And he eventually found investors, and today we know it as Starbucks. But that's just part of the story. Then you have McDonald's. Now, this is an interesting story because Ray Kroc went 7 years without making any money. I'm going to tell you one specific story within the story of McDonald's. And there was a lady who sold Bibles for a living who somehow was associated with Ray Kroc or was working with Ray Kroc. And he convinced her to buy his first franchise. and she didn't really have any money, and I think he sold to her for $900 or $1,000, something like that. And he really had to convince her to buy it because she didn't really want to do it. She didn't have the money to do it, but he was able to convince her to buy the first franchise. And so all along the way, every time they needed something, he would have to tell her she needs to raise the money for this and raise the money for that. And on opening day, he asked her, "Do you have $50 for the cash register?" And she said no. And she says, "If I'd have known I would have had to do all this, I would have never bought a franchise." And the reason I share that with you is kind of the story about how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. Well, in her case, she made it by the skin of her teeth to open up the store. And obviously we know the story of McDonald's, it's a total success story. But it continues to go on because this was a book of the month that we read, and it was called Behind the Golden Arches. And somebody who was a part of my business, and just an amazing lady, her name's Marilee, and she was in Las Vegas for some sort of a convention or something, and her and her husband were getting ready to fly back to Ontario, and they live in Temecula, California. And anyways, the long story short was she was sitting next to this lady, and Marilee's the kind of lady that would just say what's on her mind. She's just a wonderful lady. And Marilee sees this lady sitting right next to her, and she sees this ring that she's got on, and it's like got a major rock on it. I mean, we're talking diamond beyond diamond. And Marilee said something to her to get her attention about the rock that she's wearing, and the lady thanked her, and they started talking. And Marilee, I just know Marilee, and she probably point blank says, "So what do you do for a living?" And the lady began to tell her that she is an owner of several McDonald's franchises, and I believe she owns 10 McDonald's franchises. And Marilee said, "What's your name?" And the lady told her name, and she says, "I just read about you in the book called Behind the Golden Arches." And the lady looked at Marilee, and she says, "Marilee," she says, never give up on your dreams. Don't let anybody steal your dreams, because you can't have a dream come true if you don't have a dream." What an amazing story. And then Colonel Sanders, he talked to over 1,000 investors before he found anybody that would believe in his recipe. And Mark Zuckerberg launches the #1 social media business in the whole world, literally the whole world. There's over 1.2 or 1.3 billion people using Facebook. And back in the day when he launched this, MySpace was the monster social media company, and today people don't even know the name MySpace anymore. There's countless millions of stories from Federal Express, UPS, you name it. There's countless millions of stories of people who had a dream and a vision and a desire and a passion to go after their dream. So I need you to realize that if you want a dream come true, whatever that is, it's available to you. I believe that with all my heart. But now I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about somebody who was young and vibrant, full of life, 17 years old, went from Oregon to Southern California for a summer break, was surfing with his brother, and had a surfing accident and became paralyzed. He broke his neck. He was only 17 years old and had his whole life in front of him, and every dream that he had was completely shattered on that day. But something happened because he realized that he could live in agony and defeat and become a victim of circumstances, or he could make something out of it. And he turned his adversity into another dream, and he became a painter. And you can see the paintings he does with his mouth and the paintbrush in it. Look at the artwork. Look at how intricate it is. He's able to do this with a paintbrush in his mouth and moving his neck up and down. But his dream went on beyond that because, see, I met him when he came and spoke for us on stage in front of 10,000 people. Today, he travels around the world speaking about adversity and turning adversity into something else. Never giving up on your dreams. Life is an attitude. And, he has blessed so many people who stay so focused on their problems rather than where they want to be. When I told you I was in my darkest hours when I put together my dream card, I had to see where I was going, not where I was, because where I was disgusting. I was broke. I was broken. I didn't know if I was going to make it to the next month financially. I just knew I had to get out of the hole I was in, and that I needed to have something exciting to look forward to. Life begins and ends at the end of your comfort zone. You see, if you allow your comfort zone to dictate your life, you will never have anything from life except what you have on the couch and in front of you on the TV and the remote control in your hand. So I'd like you to take the time on a separate piece of paper and write down your buried or forgotten dreams and commit to bringing them back to focus. I'd like you to also write down why you had that dream in the first place, or those dreams. Also, who can you inspire by reestablishing your buried dreams, showing them your tenacity and never giving up. And write down any newly inspired dreams that you have today. I want to thank you for taking the time to go on this tour with me in this lesson. Your dream will affect other people's lives. Whatever your dream is, you'll end up creating jobs for other people. You'll end up helping other people see the power and the value of having a dream.